This is the 2024 Trend Report. We're talking about the dials that we're seeing specifically in 2024. We're talking about the race to make the thinnest watch. We're talking about dress watches and if those have any life left in them. We're talking about who's having the most fun, micro brands or the big brands, and if you actually want to buy those watches. And we're going to name the case material of the year. I'm Thomas Hendricks.
And I'm Balazs Ferenczi.
What do you got on the wrist today, B?
I'm wearing the new Albizorn Type 10, which just came out today, actually. This is a monopusher chronograph, manual one, 12 millimeters thick, and this is a re-edition of a watch that actually never existed. So that's the fun thing about the brand. They create re-editions of vintage watches that actually never made it to the market. So that's the Albizorn Type 10.
So there was no Type 10 before, but now there is?
Now there is. It's a re-edition of a watch that never existed.
And this is my 1970s Longines. I believe it's a reference 4050. Very thin, very comfortable, great like TV style case,
cool watch.
Let's say. And then a dial that is lapis lazuli-esque. Although I bought this on Chrono24 for like $200, so I would say it's not real deal lapis lazuli.
It's still a nice looking watch, very 70s, very funky, very TV.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that brings us into our first topic, which is stone dials. It's something we're seeing so much of this year. You know, we were at the Baltic preview about a month or so ago, and they have a trio of red, agate, lapis lazuli for blue, and then my favorite, which would be the green jade.
Yeah, it's like emerald green.
Exactly, yeah. But a lot of variation in there, a lot to kind of keep your eye engaged. Also, stone dials in the Rolex world, secondary market, are having a huge moment, more so than ever, I think.
And it's stone dials, and I think they're quite interesting because they're not too expensive to produce. I mean, they're more expensive than a regular dial for sure, but it doesn't give you such an, in certain brands, in other brands it does, a markup. And they're just, there's this depth in the dial when you look at them. The way they shine, especially like aventurine dials or even lapis lazuli, they're just, forget the marketing stuff about, every dial is unique. Of course it is. Every watch is unique. As soon as I take it out of the box and I wear it for a few days, it scratches on it, it's unique.
But there's natural variation is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. But they're just cool. I was thinking about the F77 Nevadas.
They another good example.
Right, they came in 3 dial versions, lapis lazuli as well, aventurine and meteorite. One of them is also in a titanium case. So
meteorite one
meteorite is titanium. So it's cool. It's just something that you probably have not seen, or maybe not to this extent in the past.
Yes.
Aventurine was around. I remember, Speedies had aventurine dials.
Is that a stone though?
Well, it's a material that is shiny.
Yeah.
And sparkly.
Nice.
I'm not a chemist.
Not exactly, maybe, yeah.
I don't know. No, yeah, but all jokes aside, I think they're really cool. They're a bit different. Of course, we see a lot of different dial colors and case materials and whatever. But I think stone dials are an interesting twist on models.
I think it's a trend that's not going to last for too long because
probably
brands can only really do it one time every 10 years or so, let's say, and then
it becomes
sort
repetitive
of
and boring.
Yeah, and then after a while, everyone has stone dials. I think the interesting thing is I was talking with a jeweler friend the other day who's also interested in watches, and just the materials cost versus the sales prices for a lot of these watches is interesting. You can just buy a chunk of meteorite for really not that much money. A malachite dial is like $5, as far as just raw materials cost. There is some failure rate when you're making these watches because you need to not have it be too thick where it weighs the watch down or makes the watch the case too thick. And if it's too thin, it's going to break. But even then, it's like the brands are really pushing this as far as adding a premium on the watch for a stone dial versus, which is understandable. Of course, there is markups. This is nothing new, but it is funny to see the math on the back end. I'm very supportive of stone dials. I like that microbrands are getting into it now, so you don't have to buy, a Stella Rolex, for example, or like a Coral Rolex, which, by the way, my jeweler friend said Coral is the one that's like actually legitimately expensive. The other ones are a little more fudgy. For example, the F77 Nevada or the green jade Baltic are just fantastic. They're a good deal. It's a good watch.
Absolutely.
I support it.
And I think people should, see them, check them out in the metal. in real life, see how they feel on the wrist, how they look on the wrist.
Yeah.
'Cause they have very, very different tones, and especially in the sun, when you take them out in the sunshine, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why people use natural materials. It's something, I think it's cyclical.
Yeah.
You know, we saw it decades ago, and then now it's really coming back, and I think decades from now it'll, you know,
Possibly.
it's never going to go out of style, let's say.
Possibly, yeah.
Let's talk about dial colors. I think the one that we've seen, not a lot, but more represented than usual, is purple.
Purple.
So, Grimace, what's your take on the situation?
I don't really like the color purple. I think it's boring. No, I do love it. I think that, you know, I sometimes we have these conversations like, what's the next color, right? It's black, then it's white. Okay,
Yeah.
and then it was blue. And then I always said, like, after blue, I'd love to see some green dials. And you see some really cool.
And we did.
And we did
This
see.
is what, 2021, 2022?
Yeah, it was like
I
a
wanna
few
say?
years ago, like olives and like brighter greens.
Yeah.
Like really
there was
cool.
one Watches and Wonders where it was like every single brand was
especially with
printed,
gold,
yeah.
right? Gold and green is just
bronze and gold too.
chef's kiss.
And
Bronze
those,
and gold.
And
yeah.
those trends came naturally together at the same time.
And then they said, what's the next color gonna be? And then people said brown and gray. And I said, no, I think it's, I really said it many times, I think it's purple. Like this burgundy kind of dark,
Well, I
reddish,
think
purplish.
I think the last year or so, you know, we're at the end of 2024, so let's say tail end of 2023 into this year.
Yeah.
I think the trend hasn't been one dial color, it's been like a Skittles effect. You look at Omega is doing it with the Aquaterra.
Yeah.
Longines is expanding there. Longines Legend Diver in more colors now. I think that will continue. We're looking at Dotsa.
Yeah.
Did
They have everything.
matte and sunray finishes, and you know, it's like red, green, yellow.
The latest is the green. The green dial is the latest release, but yeah, they have everything. They really have everything.
So yeah, variety has been
Yeah.
the theme, and then now I think it's going to go back to more like one dial color of the year, let's say.
Yeah, and I like Skittles. But I also like purple watches, and I think purple, like I've seen the Maurice Lacroix icon in purple.
Yeah.
And it's like a very in-your-face shiny purple, not one of these, you know, elegant kind of toned-down purples, and it really does work. It's a really different color, but I think purple. People think, or people used to tell me like it's a feminine color. I don't think there's such a thing as a feminine color. I think, you know, color is a color. I think purple is good, and I really like the color. I really like the dark one, I like the electric ones, and I'm super happy to see them more and more often.
Would you buy a purple watch?
Yes.
What kind of?
I
purple?
actually have the Ming, which is kind of this dark burgundy. I mean, it's not this purple. It's
I mean,
more
it's called the Burgundy, yeah.
yeah. So it's more of a I mean,
And I think that may be a way that brands kind of get it. If they do want to hop on the trend, that's like an easy way to kind of tiptoe into it. And I think looking forward to 2025, I think it might go more in the burgundy direction, because I
Maybe.
think you kind of expand your market appeal there. Like the good thing about purple is, yeah, you have like electric Kool-Aid kind of purple. Then you also have more of like a aubergine, a little earthier kind
but
of
is
purple.
aubergine burgundy or purple? It's kind of in
purple.
Yeah. So you know, it's like a bishop kind of purple. I like purple. I think they're cool, and I really want to see some of the, maybe not the classic models, but the kind of well-known models with some more purple sprinkled on top of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see it now.
Yeah.
Catching on, like the Rolex Grape was like never a hit, let's say. But yeah, you have like Atelier Win on the microbrand side.
Beautiful.
You have Mosier doing purple, which, you know, they have
Passion fruit.
colors very well.
Yep.
AP did a RD number 3, like a Royal Tourbillon kind of thing. Urwerk did an ultraviolet, which of course like really works with their thing.
Yeah.
You have a few like Tokyo themed. Those are like a darker, moodier, like 80s video game kind of purple, I would say. I think we're kind of reached peak purple at this point, maybe, and I think it's going to go back to
You think?
more of a cranberry plum.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe, but I would still love to see some electric purple, more electric purple colors, because I really, as I said, the Maurice Lacroix is really a cool shade of purple, but it's not for everybody, and it's not for every model. I'll give you that.
You see a lot of brands, getting funky with case shapes, getting funky with dial colors. You have Studio Underdog making like a pizza watch that I think sold out in no time.
They did a pizza watch, and then they did a passion fruit watch with Moser as a collaboration, which was like a burgundy yellow kind of combination.
You have the independent actor Second, who's kind of...
It's not really a brand, but...
Exactly, more of a higher gun, let's say.
Yeah, he actually puts his touch on watches, but yeah.
Yeah, but we're seeing him more and more.
Yeah.
I think like 2024 has probably been his biggest year in his
Yeah.
career, I would say.
Also a bit underwhelming, if you ask me. I think he used to do better stuff. I think sometimes quality over quantity is...
And not everything's going to be a hit, let's say.
Yeah, maybe that.
And I think on the big brand side, you have some risk taking, but I don't know that's really always working out.
No.
Rolex did their like solid gold deep sea, which is like 15 millimeters thick or something like that. Is it bold? Yes. Is it good? Maybe not so much. I wish they went bolder with the GMT.
But they've been bold for the past whatever years, which is new from Rolex, mind you. So cut them some slack, you know.
Patek did the denim dials on the denim straps.
That's a no.
What's your thought on that?
That's a no. That's a no.
I could see the dials catching on. The straps are like, I'm not paying
I think
$190 to have like a fake Levi's strap.
I think they also realize they have to like switch it up a little bit and be a bit more like trendy, but I think it's just not working. You know, this watch, and basically not only this, but all of your most of your watches are very thin, very dressy, kind of, you know, on the elegant side, not too sporty. You don't You're not into this because it's a trend, because you've been doing this way before it was a trend. But it is a trend. Dress watches, thinner, time only, kind of, you know, smart pieces are or were, that's the question, a popular thing. Do you think it's still gonna, you know, it's still in the market? Is it gonna stay, or is that also like kind of a trend that's dying down slowly?
It's definitely been a trend that's undeniable, both on the modern side and the vintage side. You know, we have Rolex doing a 1908, which was not on my bingo card. You know, now they're continuing to push that. I think we'll see another 1908 in 2025. And then you have guys, you know, Mike Nouveau is really pushing dress watches and things like that. Cartier specifically, particularly 96s are getting traction outside of his account. And it's pushing things on the secondary market in auctions.
Sure.
Prices for these are, for what is just a two-hander time only, pretty simple watch.
Cartiers, Piagets, as you said, APs even. You have an AP, which is more of a dress watch than a sports watch.
For sure, yeah. It's a Cartier tank alternative, let's say.
Right.
As a category, it makes sense. It's like, it's, you know, there's a pendulum swing between sport and dress and things like that. Rolex, vintage Rolex is always going to be the biggest player in the market. I don't think that's changing anyway, but I think it makes sense that there is a rising tide in the dress watch market because there's just so many of them out there. Zooming out on history, that's been where the focus has been. Like, you know, the last 30 years or so, sport watches have come into their own. You know, the Omega Seamaster started off as a dress watch.
Yes. Well, it was started as a sports watch, but now it's considered a dress watch.
Yeah, exactly. There's no timing bezel or anything like that.
No.
You know,
it's a very
when you go back
elegant.
to 1948, So it's been more gentlemanly in the course of like 100 years or so. So it makes sense that sport watches are like having more of a place in the market.
Yeah.
Given how many there are and given how important they are.
But now they're having a break versus dress watches.
Yeah, I think the pendulum swing is kind of coming back. Will this last forever? No, I think 2025 you're going to start to see it come down a little bit more because at a certain point, everyone who's going to buy a dress watch already has one or already has as many as they're going to buy.
Yeah.
You look at things like the Cartier Crash selling for 1.6 million, you know, not too long ago. That's peaked. It's been long enough where if it was going to sell for higher, it would have sold for higher already. You know, there's louder voices coming from the dress watch community, but it's not a huge community, let's say, of people who are like really into this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think there are people who are getting into it now that there's a trend and they're like, all right, I already have 3 subs, a GMT and a Speedmaster. Let's switch it up and get a tank or something.
Yeah, but those are more versatile than dress watches for sure.
Yeah.
I think. But the funny thing is, a friend of mine mentioned it. He said, watch trends are like seasons. The winter is here, you know, wearing hoodies and, you know, coats and whatever, but you want the shorts and t-shirts weather. And then it's summertime and then it's cool, but then you want to put your hoodies back on. It's the same thing. You have sports watches, but then you want something more dressy. And then you start wearing dress watches and then like, okay, I started to miss the sports watches. And then you go back to that. So as you said, it's like a pendulum, right? It's like a seasonal thing.
And it's funny to see brands kind of move in the opposite direction in some ways. Like we talked about Rolex, like yes, they have a 1908, that's just one watch out of many that they make.
Yeah.
But then you have Lange leaning in more to the Odysseus. You have Laurent Ferrier doing the sport auto.
But mind you, Laurent Ferrier Sport is also very, very elegant, very Laurent Ferrier. So it's not necessarily a sports watch.
It's relative to their...
Yeah, no, the colors are different and it's a bit bold and definitely different than what we've seen from them. That's true.
It's the sportiest Align figure they've ever made.
True. Yeah, it's a fair point. It's interesting. I'd love to see what's going on.
I mean, dress watches are good because, you know, they slide under a cuff, they're light on the wrist, they're elegant, and I'm not a thick watch person, so it's like I have a thinner wrist, I have a thinner body, it's just proportional.
He's proportional. So are watches.
Except for my head, which is huge. But
yeah, you know, dress watches have a place in everybody's collection, I think. Every once in a while, you want to shake things up. You want to move away from sports watches. If you're a sports watch guy, it's cool. If you want to just wear this on one day and that the other day, it's also cool. I feel that there's limits to that, right? And there's limits to the thickness or the thinness.
What's your maximum thickness?
Maximum thickness, probably around like 14.
THICC, 14. That's a lot.
14, I would say, depending on the watch. But so this is like 12. So like 14, 15 is still doable.
For a chronograph is pretty good.
Yeah, because it's a manual wind. But when it comes to thinness or how thin the watch should be, I really don't mind. I find those very thin watches a bit, I know they're not, but they feel fragile. Yeah. So I feel like...
I mean, they kind of are.
They kind of are. And I think it's just, has ultra slim and blah, blah, blah. When you do them in quartz, that's whatever. When you do them in mechanical, mostly hand wound, but sometimes automatic, it's just crazy expensive. And understandably so.
It's like nanotechnology.
Yeah. So like a Bulgari Octofinissimo titanium, which is not a necessarily thick watch, just a regular.
Well, it's back kind of to being the thinnest watch in the world.
No, but like I mean, just like a regular Octofinissimo titanium, you know.
Sure, yeah.
For me, that's like a
6 millimeters.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. And a friend of mine has one. I put it on and like, oof, it really feels good. But it's just like I'd love to like try it.
See, I take issue with the Octofinissimo in that. It's a 40 millimeter watch that wears like a 42, let's say.
Yeah.
And it's 6 millimeters thick, and I get that that's like the driving spirit behind the watch.
Yes.
Is that it's like a big cuff, takes up a lot of real estate, horizontally, but not vertically. But all I want you to do, Bulgari, is make like a 38 millimeter that's like 7 millimeters thick. Is that so crazy? Like you could do it. I'll take an extra millimeter on top. It's still gonna be like the thinnest watch in my collection, basically. Yeah, but like I don't need it to look like a garbage can like wrapped around my wrist.
On yours, because you have a wrist of a 12-year-old. But now you're right. Actually, it's a big watch. It's a wide watch. It should be much thinner.
The lug width is like 34 millimeters. It's like that's insane.
Yeah, it's still
make
cool.
a smaller, slightly thicker, but still
big,
objectively thin version.
But I guess they can also do it smaller and keep the thickness. It's just probably going to be more expensive, and people would not justify paying more for a smaller watch than a bigger watch. Another
thing that brands are doing that, from their perspective, is I think justified, but it's not a consumer thing. It's just like ultra thin watches.
Yeah,
it's a science experiment. Like they're trying to break the world record. We had Bulgari into Richard Mille last year, and now Bulgari is back. Piaget is doing their ultra thin Tourbillon, which is fine, and then Constantin Shaken is, I guess, now technically, with a prototype, the thinnest watch in the world. That's a very small company compared to Bulgari. Bulgari and even RM, they have the money, the power, the facility to kind of push that. And I think it's cool. It's like when you go to like an auto show, the like Geneva Auto Show, and there's like all these fancy cars, these futuristic prototypes. It's cool. We can do that, but they never make it to production. It shouldn't. To make a car analogy, it's like brands are trying to do like 1,000 horsepower car. It's like, that's great, congratulations. Yeah. I don't need that. Yeah. Where are you going to use it? The watch is 1 millimeter thick. Congratulations on your science project. You get a gold star. No one's going to buy it. You're not going to make them. It's just, it's brands doing it to brag to other brands. Congratulations on like furthering the industry and things like that, but it's not for me. And it's not really for anyone else. Envelope, but it's not really. Yeah. Just make a thin wearable watch. That's the point behind it, instead of just seeing how low can you go. I think once you get used to lighter watches, then it's hard to really go back, and I think brands are really pushing into what I would say is the case material of the year, which is titanium. Again, yeah, because it's not a new material, right? It's been... Oh, no, of course not. It's been around. It feels like it's getting easier to work with from a manufacturing perspective. You have more brands who are able to do like different kinds of finishing on them, or just produce them a little bit easier at a little less cost. The Girard-Perregaux Laureato chronograph is not a watch that I heard about a lot. It's fantastic in titanium. You have Romain Gaultier with like the C, which is I don't think necessarily a new watch, I saw
The Rolex.
the Londa Odysseus the other day
Yeah.
at our event,
Yeah.
and that had a mix of like polish and brush finishes. And I'm not an Odysseus fan, but it's like I'm glad that it exists. We had the titanium Yachtmaster not too long ago. Everyone's kind of hoping for a titanium sub. If you had to make a bet, are we going to see that in 2025?
Maybe not in 25, but I think in 26 or 27 probably.
I would say no. I think the titanium Yachtmaster is as close as we're going to get to a titanium sub. And it
Maybe
would kind of,
maybe a titanium GMT.
ooh, would you buy it? Would you be tempted? I would do a titanium Daytona.
I have to. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would do that. I would do that. GMT, maybe not. Titanium Daytona, make it happen.
Yeah, but we have, Chopard is pushing the Alpine Eagle
Yeah.
more into titanium. Zenith did a Chronomaster
Yeah.
in titanium, which is kind of
cool.
designed to be like a titanium
Yeah, it's
Daytona.
cool.
Let's
Cool
just call it like it is.
Yeah.
Call a spade, keep it 100. Blancpain is pushing their 43 millimeter 50 fathoms in titanium, which thank God, like that's such a big watch.
Yeah.
It's either like titanium or rose gold, and there's obviously a definite weight difference there. I would name titanium as the material of the year for 2024, and I think we'll continue to see it in 2025. Unlike purple dials, it's something that you can get away with for longer.
Absolutely. And it's been around for a long time,
Yeah, it's proven.
So, yeah.
And it's less resistant to fads and things like that. Like there are titanium watches from the 80s.
Yeah.
I love the IWC Porsche design titanium ones. Those are still really cool. They're dated, but they're really cool.
What's your favorite titanium watch ever?
Oh, I mean, now that we're on IWC, it's the Metric Quartz 34 millimeter integrated bracelet chronograph alarm.
Okay, cool. That's it's cool.
It's a lot for like 4K or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but
For Micro Quartz.
I've gotten close to buying it on.
Mine's Pelagos, Tudor Pelagos.
Oh.
Pelagos, but the small one.
How can we mention titanium without mentioning Tudor?
I
They're
like the
real-
small one. I like the small
The
Pelagos.
39? Not
It's
terribly
not-
small, but
Not terribly small. It's a bit small for me, but I really like that it's 39 and titanium because it's a smaller case and a lighter case.
and it's very well received as well.
Yeah.
2025, what's on your bingo card?
For case materials,
For anything. Is he looking crystal ball?
I really hope that the big brands
You look
start
like a wizard with this thing on,
I
so that's
do.
why I'm asking you a magical question. 2025, what are you calling?
colorful dials, probably purple, as we said. I think they're still gonna, be around. I like it. I hope that other than different colored dials, they do something else, especially the big brands. Because as we said, the indies and the micro brands, they are pushing the envelope, and the big brands aren't. In terms of materials, I wanted to say last year I would have said carbon, but carbon seems to be a bit in and out, rather out than in. And I hope it's the same goes for bronze, because I really don't like bronze watches too much. So I would say probably not a lot of new things. Like we haven't seen much from the big brands this year. I don't think it's going to change next year. Hopefully the year after, yes, but I wouldn't see a lot of changes.
What do you think Rolex is going to do for 2025?
I never
We never do.
do that.
I think we will see more carbon in 2025.
I wouldn't mind that.
We're seeing it with the Tissot PRX. Bulgari did a minute repeater.
Amazing. And the time
Optifinissimo.
only as well.
Yeah, amazing material for it. I think it has a lot of the benefits of titanium and scratch resistance and lightness, and it's a little funkier.
Carbon's cool. I like it. I like the Doxa 300. I like the PRX. I had the Bulgari on the wrist. And not only because it's titanium case, but it's also titanium bracelet, which you don't see often. Not titanium, sorry, carbon. I like forged carbon much better than carbon fiber, like weaved carbon. So that's a super cool material.
Yeah, maybe we'll push stone dials into like a stone that's not already used in watches.
A
Maybe
purple stone dial with a carbon case.
I could see Tiger Eye coming back.
No, shouldn't.
Yeah,
It shouldn't.
I think it could. So Cartier Santos already has like this brown tobacco dial. Berneron already did a Tiger Eye.
Yeah.
The seal has been broken. Okay, so carbon, Tiger Eye. Maybe smaller case sizes still.
Okay, yeah,
I think
that's
that's still going.
Nah, that's
Dress watch is on the way out. No titanium sub. Balazs, that's enough out of you. That's enough out of me. What do you guys think we're going to see in 2025? And what do you think has been the big trends of 2024 looking back? Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. We'll see you next time.